Run it. Oh, you've already put the code in?
Yeah, it's not working yet. The YouTube video is not working.
The YouTube video is not working?
It says standby. It's not quite caught up
Can you
yet.
do a hard refresh? Well, good morning, everybody. While we wait for the YouTube video. Good morning. That's what I like to hear. It's always a bad sign when you say good morning and everybody's still. So we're going to be starting here in a few minutes. Will's trying to live stream this. The cool thing is whether we do or do not get the live stream, we are recording this, I believe. Right, Will?
We should be.
It says on air on my end here too. So we're recording this, so everybody who's here will get the recording as well. So that's a nice little extra perk. We are going to go. I have 7 sessions planned today, roughly 1 hour apiece. We will obviously break for lunch, and we'll take breaks in between. I also want to encourage interactivity during certain portions, but obviously not other portions when I break the stuff down, right? In addition to that, I want to make sure everybody can hear me okay. So in the back, in the front, anywhere else, all good? And I will get louder as I get more excited, too.
And how's the sound on this mic? Good? We're going to pass around this mic when you ask questions for the benefit of those that are watching the live stream as well as the recording, so that when you watch the recording, you can hear what the question was that was asked. So if you just raise your hand when you want to ask a question, I'll run the mic over to you and we'll pass it around the room.
Cool. I'm supposed to have a whiteboard or something?
Yeah, there should be a flip chart coming pretty soon.
Okay, cool. So let's just get down and get started then, right? All right, you can go ahead and sit down.
He's set me away.
He's making me nervous standing up here next to me. Quick show of hands, who here has a product already listed on Amazon? Look around, that's pretty incredible, isn't it? Who here is going to have a product in the next week or so? They're in the waiting process, okay. And who here is nowhere closer to having a product than they were when they first signed up? And that's okay, just let me know. Okay, cool. So we'll deal with all of those. I just want to get an idea of what to tailor and what to focus on specifically. Very quickly here, because the first thing I want to start with is a product selection process. Because even people who have picked a product and have it listed on Amazon have told me and have thought about, is this the right type of product? Did I pick the correct product? What's the product selection process? And I understand where that's coming from. If I really read between the lines, what I think I'm hearing is this. You want to make sure the product that you have is like the gold mine, right? It's going to be the one that's going to make you $1 billion, okay? Here's the Jason Fladlin approach. I want to find out what I can do with it. I don't care if it's going to be a solid gold bar. I don't care if it's going to be a nickel. As long as I can put it out there and kind of get a process started, try to get some action, get heavily invested, and learn some things, I consider that a good product to pick from. So I'm not going to spend much of my time obsessing over, oh my God, should I have picked this category or should I have picked this category? Should I have picked this product or this product? You know, I bet if we crunch numbers for another 5 hours, we might be able to potentially come up with another product that's good, right? I don't urge you to take that approach, and I definitely don't take that approach. What Wilson and I did when we first started is we said, okay, let's sit down for about 30 minutes, set a timer, run through it, and after 30 minutes, we're like, well, I guess we're going to go with this product, you know? It looked good, right? We followed the training, as Matt had suggested, to pick the product. And the coolest thing is you get going, you get your hands dirty, you put it up there, you get familiarized with the process. And then when you list it, you see what happens. We want to fail forward, and we want to make it easy to fail. So that way, I mean, really, what are you out? A couple $100, right? If it totally bombs, you're out a few $100, which to me is an acceptable risk. And you'll have to determine and set your own acceptable risk. But it's more important to accelerate the process than it is to pick the perfect product. So I'll give you an idea. So Will and I picked this first product, and honestly, it is a product I care so little about. And you will probably run into this maybe if you're like me. So I'm talking to my friends and family, and they're saying, hey, well, this new product, because you started this Amazon business, Jason, because I was telling everybody I was super excited about it. I was like, oh, yeah, we're going to be on Amazon selling stuff. And they kept asking me, does this product work? And I said, I don't know. They're like, what do you mean? I go, I don't know. That's not important. The product actually is not important in any market, which is unfortunate or fortunate. It's just the way that it is. My point was it works just as good as any other product of similar thing that's on this market. It has basically the same makeup and composite and design as every other product in this market. So it's going to work as good as any other product is going to work. That's not the important thing, that my product is somehow magically superior inherently. It's the fact is I know a better way to market it to the end customer than anybody else. So I can have the same product as 5,000 other people, right? But because I might know a secret or two to get mine first, I win. I make the money. And so people, I don't think, quite get that. Definitely consumers, the average everyday consumer, your friends and family, they're not going to get that. So that's the wrong answer to tell somebody. When they're like, hey, this product you have, you got to say, man, this is the greatest product in the world, you know, or whatever you could be. You can't be like me because, like, hell, I don't know, you know, I'm just going to make some money with it. It's FDA certified or it's whatever certified, depending on the type of product you have or whatever. So we get this first product, we put it out there, and then naturally, like the speed bump that Wilson and I run into is life intervenes, right? 6 opportunities come up, and they're all so good, and I know I can be super helpful to my customers if I seize these opportunities. And so we're trying to fit it all in, and we put off the ASM stuff a little bit. We put off the Amazon stuff a little bit, and we get behind. And I'll tell you why. We didn't anticipate all the delays, right? We did not anticipate the fact is that when we went to our private label supplier, their printer did not work. I mean, it worked, but it was ugly. And Will kept coming back to me, and he's saying things like, Jason, I don't think you're giving them the right Photoshop file. I don't think you're doing this correctly. I think this is wrong. And I kept telling them, I'm like, I could be wrong. Okay, it is possible that I'm wrong. But I don't think I am. And finally, I got so fed up, I just went to one of my local printers. Some guy I never met before, and I said, hey, here's the deal. I go, I want you to run this for me. I'm going to come back in an hour. If it's good, I'm going to order through you, and we're going to figure out a way to put these labels on. In our particular case, we lucked out because, and this is an example of how private labelers are not who you think they are. They don't have a process to automatically put them on. So we send them to this lady, she slaps them on by hand, right? Which is nice, because now we don't have to be perfect and exact, and we can send her whatever the heck that we want here. But you know, this shattered my perception of these private labelers, right? Coming in, I'm like, oh my God, these guys must be big businesses. These things, you know, these people, they must have their act together. You have to be completely professional. You know, you got to approach them in the right manner. You got to say everything correctly because you're dealing with some major players here, right? The reality is, you look at their website, it's the ugliest thing since the 1996 GeoCities website, right? And then you call these people on the phone, and they're like, I don't even know what that price is of this thing. I'll have to look it up and get back to you. And then you ask them for art, and they're like, I don't know. I'll have to go figure that out, and I'll get back to you. They are so beyond disorganization, it's no wonder that they have no way to sell it themselves, and they need to private label it, right? That's just the way that it works. So when you start, and this is important about going through the process and getting your hands dirty and keep moving forward and trying new products, the important thing is the process. Once you say, oh my God, this is not nearly as intimidating as I thought it was to contact these people, it makes it infinitely easier to contact these people, right? And at the same time, you think, now that I realize how disorganized they are, I can use it to my advantage. I can start working out better deals. I can start negotiating better prices. I can start working all kinds of angles that previously I didn't think existed. So we get this first product. We run into these roadblocks. This throws off our whole timeline, which, you know, always happens. And so we have to kind of put it on the back burner because we have other things that we were planning on. Well, we'll get all this ASM stuff done, and then we'll do this other stuff. So we get a little behind schedule. That's normal. I mean, at this point, it's easy to want to be like, oh my God, I better just give up and start over again. You just have to, and it's hard to come back when you put something off, but you have to suck it up and do it, and we did it. And I'm going to be breaking down something today that I think you won't learn anywhere else but from us that we've been testing. Because you know me, I can't do things the normal prescribed way. I have to invent some new innovative angle simply because I know everybody else is doing it the same way, and I can't do it the same way, you know? So I'm going to break down for you what we discovered today. We actually just sold out of our product yesterday. Yep. At a staggering loss, I might add. And I'll talk about why that's good, right? But so we got back on the ball, but we also noticed other opportunities. Now that we got our hands dirty, we realized how easy it was to get these suppliers, how easy it was to private label, some of the speed bumps and ways that we could work through them. we see this other product, and we're like, oh my God, because this is how you find really good products, okay? Let me show you the secret. It's one word, accidentally, all right? Seriously. Here's the deal with luck, and I love luck, and I use luck as much as possible in my business. The more you work, the more things you try, the luckier you get. And the whole thing is like, if I could buy one lottery ticket for $1, I'm not going to do it. If I could buy 10 lottery tickets for $1, maybe, but probably not. If I could buy 1,000,000 lottery tickets for $1, then I'll play the lottery, you know, because I've changed the rules, so to speak. If I'm out there doing all kinds of stuff, poking around, reading everything I can on Amazon, trying all kinds of different stuff, by sheer brute force, I will get lucky enough one day to stumble across an amazing product, an amazing opportunity, something phenomenal. And that'll be what changes everything. It won't be the deliberate thing that you spent hours meticulously selecting and trying out and doing that. That ain't going to happen, okay? And I will tell you, this is true in every single business. When I sit down and create an information product, the ones I think are going to sell the best usually sell okay. And the ones that I don't have that much, like, yeah, maybe this one will do okay, my customers eat up like candy. You never know, right? But by continually putting yourself out there and doing these things, that's when you're going to discover something. So, Will, what were you going to say?
Yeah, the important thing is that as you go through the process, you may not have that product that's going to make you a millionaire. But if you ever do stumble upon that one opportunity that is going to make you a millionaire, you will be ready to take advantage of it because you've known the process. You've established a procedure to take advantage of it.
Exactly.
That's really important that you go through the process without worrying about, is this going to be the product that's going to do it for me?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, here's what I want to do, to use a baseball analogy. I just want to get on base every single time. I don't care if you hit me by the pitch. I don't care if I walk. I don't care if I strike out, but the catcher drops it and I run down to first base that way, right? I don't care if I get a single, a double, a triple, or a home run. I just want to get on base. Everybody else wants to hit home runs. But by me consistently, so say I have 10 products that each do $200 a day. You know how much money that is per month? A lot, to be exact, right? And at the same time, it allows you to fly under the radar. It has its perks, where you don't have to be the big gargantuan thing that everybody else tries to knock off, right? Nobody even knows you exist. There's a lot of perks to that. So I want to make money, and there's a phrase I always use, I want to earn while I learn. I don't want to learn, then earn. I want to earn while I learn. So if I go out there and I make $1,000 in the first few months with this product, that might be a success to me because I've learned the whole system. I've learned how to get suppliers. I've learned how to write the copy. I've learned all the idiosyncrasies of Amazon Seller Central, which, by the way, make no sense whatsoever. But once you learn them, then you can start codifying them and figuring out how to apply them. And of course, we're always searching. You know, I'm always looking through Amazon. Now, as a consumer, when I go to buy stuff on Amazon, I look with a different pair of eyes. Haven't you noticed that, right? This is how you find good products. So we find the second product that is an absolute gold mine. And I know it is. And it's going to be a gold mine. Here's the good thing about these products. Usually an underutilized gem, so to speak, stays in the ground until somebody digs it out. You could dig it out today, and you probably will catastrophically drop the ball on it. But if you get better at it, you can dig that gem out next month, next year even, and it will probably still be there. And it'll be a huge opportunity, even if somebody else discovers the gem. Because there's typically room for 3 people, I've noticed, in really any industry, and Amazon included. If you're number 1, number 2, number 3, you got it made. That's gravy. Get that thing running, get that thing going, then set up another product. It could be a synergistically relevant product, or it could be something completely out of left field, which is what our second product was. So we get the second product, and it's so great because the only one selling it is Amazon itself. And I mean, Amazon has like a 1-sentence piece of copy, right? They have some of the dumbest images I've ever seen. Amazon's not even good at optimizing their own listings, right? And the only problem is we can't find any suppliers for this in the United States. We have to go to China and we have to order a lot. So we get creative. We start talking to the supplier, the private labeler, and we say, hey, can we do this? Can we basically take a sticker and slap it on top of your thing with our own little, whatever they call it, ISBN, UPC, barcode thingy, majigger, right? Can we do that? It turns out we can't, right? And I mean, talk about low tech. Nothing fancy about this. This isn't optimized. We're just going to slap a sticker on top of it so we can sell it uniquely in the marketplace and not have to fight for the buy box, right? This guy sends us this flag, and we're all excited, and we're all ready to go, and we're like, okay, we're going to sell this thing, right? And then we open it up and look at it, and there's a big stain in the middle of it, which, thank God, we looked at that right before we ordered it and signed the contract, right? And so that's another lesson. You learn this only by doing it, not by thinking about it. So you might have the most perfect product in the world, but even then, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to take advantage of it. So we put that on the back burner for now while we focus on the first product, but we have that in our back pocket. So when we do come and use that product, when we're ready, when we get this first business up and running and making some good money pretty much automatically, I now have the second product waiting in the wings that we can jump on, and maybe we'll do good, maybe we'll mess it up. Who cares, right? It's not going to take much to test it out, and it's not going to take much to put it up there. And frankly, I would rather have 50 products that each make me $1,000 a month than one product that makes me $50,000 a month. So that's the approach, right? So if you have a product up already and you're not sure how it's going to go, work it until you think you've got it to a level where it's going to reach a point of diminishing returns. And is everybody familiar with that concept? It's where like you're squeezing blood from a turnip, right? At a certain point, it makes no sense to push it out further. So if you wrote 50 press releases for it, if you've done, got all the beautiful images for it, you've pushed it up there, and you can't get that damn thing to rank any higher, it's the toughest thing in the world to do, but you have to drown that kid, okay? Got to put it out of its misery. You let the thing sit there, and maybe you revisit it again in a while, but you have to give up, as contradictory as that sounds. There is no point in proving everybody wrong that you can make it work. Yeah, I did that. True, I had to crawl over broken glass for 7 miles, but I did it. And I'm like, well, I just took the elevator and walked over there, It's okay, okay? So we move on if it doesn't work good. The important thing is we're not going to pick the perfect product unless we're absolutely lucky. And so we just pick a product that we think is pretty good. We try it out. We try to fail as safely as possible. And we try to succeed as easily as possible, if that makes sense. So that's the product selection approach. But here's the most important thing of all. Every single time you learn something new when you go with a new product or a new approach or whatever. And so it's so funny, and this is why Will and I sold all of you so successfully here in this room, to buy through our affiliate link as opposed to somebody else's. We went through the process first. So when I was on the webinar and Matt was talking about getting private label stuff for as cheaply as $150, nobody believed him, okay? And nobody really thought it was possible. None of the other affiliates were keying in on that fact. And those guys weren't even selling that fact, right? And Will and I were telling people, it is possible. We have this product. We white labeled it for $152 specifically. And we showed you what was possible. So here's the deal. If I can test a business for $150 that has a huge automation potential, which, by the way, Rapid Crush does not have a huge automation potential. I have to create products month in and month out, or I have to publish people month in and month out. It's worth it for the money that I make, right? But it's not something that I can sit back and rest on my laurels once I get it ranked in the top of the search engines, which I can with Amazon. Quick show of hands, when somebody, for the people who've listed your product on here, who here was on the first 15 pages in Amazon the very first day your product went live? Your top level search term. Okay, so let me see the shows of hands. Hi. I can't see very good. Okay. 15 or higher, right? Has anybody else checked their product listing? Has anybody here not checked where they're ranked in Amazon yet who has a product listed on Amazon? So check. When we first listed our product, we were on page 12, which blew my mind, right? What did I do to optimize that? Not a damn thing. I wrote a keyword description in the title. I didn't have any images even, right? I'm on page 11, and by the way, page 11 in Google for like a 2-word top-level keyword phrase, you know how hard you have to work to do that? I don't know, because I'm not willing to work that hard to find out, right? I am without a doubt, without even trying, on page 11. And by the way, let's compare valuable search engines. Google is an information search engine. Amazon is a buyer's search engine. A listing on Amazon, if we were to go tit for tat, it's probably 220 times more valuable, based on my estimations, to be in Amazon than it is to be in the same spot in Google if you're on the first page. Now, of course, if you're not on the first page, you don't really even exist. So the goal is, of course, to get it to the first page. But I see the potential there. If we're already on page 11, what happens if we do a little bit of activity? So we did a little bit of activity. Now we're on page 5. We are number 68 in the results, right? And we have put in so much little effort. It boggles the mind, right? So here's the whole point. If I can flirt with the first and second and third pages, I will make money. I will make more than my share of money back by the end of the year, right? I am fairly confident. Now, I might be wrong, right? But I'm fairly confident that if we can get in the first few pages, get some reviews, just with the advertising alone, I think that product can make us $10,000 a year. Is that awesome? I think that is awesome. Because guess what I do once I set it up? How much work I have to do to maintain that, to make $10,000 a year? Almost none, right? Now, not too long ago, about 8 years ago, I used to work in a warehouse in a carpet factory, a flooring outlet, and I made $19,000 a year, working 50 hours a week. So would I take $10,000 passively, even with the money I make now? You bet I would, considering I could probably do the same thing again with a different product. Even better, of course, just like any business, the real money is in the existing customer base, right? So I can go back and follow up with those customers and try to get them to purchase some things. And there's a way to do that. I'll explain that later because it's not exactly obvious because Amazon doesn't want you to do that in the most direct way, but you can do it indirectly, right? So I now have customers who can potentially buy that product. They might buy other similar products, which could be me, right? Here's a concept for you. Could I not white label the same product again and now be on the same page twice with two different products that are supposedly competitors, right? I can and I will, you know, because if you go to the store and you see Tide and you see brand value, it's the same company, you know, Procter & Gamble, right? When you go down the cereal aisle, there's 500 different types of cereal that are owned by one company, right? Red Lobster and Olive Garden are owned by the same company. So whether you want seafood tonight or you want Italian tonight, and I use the term Italian loosely, right? They're going to get your money. So why can't we do stuff like that? So this is the potential that I see. Now, naturally, it's cool, like when Matt gets up and shows you $200,000 a month. That is neat, right? And we can get there. But let's not try to hope that we can do that with one or two products. Jim, who just got up and left the room, I was going to mention, Jim says to me right before we're starting today, because I have trouble seeing how this product is going to snowball between 1Z and 2Z cells that I pick up here and there. Is anybody else having trouble seeing that? Come on. I know there's some liars here that don't have their hands up. Okay, good. I have trouble seeing that, right? But I do know it's possible. And I knew that a lot of people have done it. So that tells me I can do it. And really the focus there is I don't even care if I'm picking up 1s or 2Zs. Because Amazon is an automated system that's going to do a lot of work for me. And if I get it up and running and going, it can sustain itself rather unattended. And I can start the next product. 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 That's my approach. And in reality, here's the deal. And Matt will tell you himself, he only has about 5 products that he has to this day. Because what happens is all the other products that do a little bit, they're just basically getting you one step closer to the product that is your breakthrough, right? So it takes 10 mediocre products to get one good product, or it takes 5, or whatever your ratio is that you establish. But once you get the good one, you'll just let the other ones die. Because all of them combined are going to make up a fraction of cells, and this one is going to make up all the cells. But even if they don't, I see it very feasible to make $50,000, $60,000 a year completely part-time with Amazon. So keep in mind both sides of the picture there. There is the potential upside for millions of dollars. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind, and that's why we're doing this, and that's why we're spending a significant amount of time to do this. But on the other hand, when it comes specifically to product selection, let's just get on base. Let's just get this product going and make it some money. Let's get this other product going and make it some money. It's more important to have a rapid deployment system in a sense, if that makes sense, to getting your product listed. Okay? So with that said, let's move on and talk more specifically. Let's start with the product copy. Oh, by the way, real quickly, who here has done advertising on Amazon? Okay? Everybody else here, once you get your product listing, do advertising. Here's what you do. 5 cents a click. Start with 5 cents a click. It's the greatest advertising platform in the world. Because unlike Facebook or these other advertising methods, how much copy do you write for your Amazon ad? Does anybody know the answer to that? How much copy do you write for your ad for running it on Amazon? You write your keyword that you want to target. You don't write any copy. You don't write a headline. You don't write a call to action. You don't write body copy. It's easy. You log in and say, I want to go for this keyword, and I want to pay this much money. it takes about, I mean, roughly like, what, 10 seconds to set up a campaign?
Yeah, if you have your keywords, you just paste them in there and it's done. Because it takes everything from your product. It takes the title from your product, your image from your product, and they pull whatever copy they want out of there. So literally click 3 or 4 buttons, paste in your keywords, tell it how much you want. And by the way, we bid 5 cents, but it's only costing us less than 2 cents per click.
What were you going to say? Loud. Yeah, so this is where the advertising shows up. Great question. So first of all, Amazon kind of pulls, and it's never predictive what they will pull exactly, but they'll basically pull an excerpt from the title and the body copy or whatever, and they'll put your listing on there. Where it shows up depends on, of course, how many bidders there are and how much they're paying for it, right? But if I go to Amazon.com and I search in the search term for whatever, the keyword phrase, and I scroll all the way bottom to the first page, right before the next page, previous page, Page Nation thing, you know, that's where there's going to be 1 or 2 ads that are going to show up down there.
Yeah, it's usually...
Hold on. Okay, so
it probably depends on your product. When we started advertising, we bid 5 cents per click, and we were getting on every single page page load for that keyword. I've checked again, and they're now a total of 4 products competing for the main keyword.
Because our competitors,
so we show up on 50% of those pages.
Our competitors saw what we were doing, I have no doubt in my mind, and said, how the hell do I have my ad show up there? Because for less than, basically 2 cents a click, we were on page 1 immediately of Amazon, right? Now guess how much we sold from that advertisement? 0, and I will tell you why. We had no reviews. We only had an image up there. We didn't have anything going there that's exciting, right? But you know, just seeing that alone, there's some ways. Imagine if you're going to run a campaign and it's going to be a seasonal campaign and you have a seasonal item and you run an advertisement, right? You change your product description to key in on that fact. And now you can make the advertising work. I mean, that's one of many ways that you can manipulate somebody that you know is likely to come from an advertisement. But when we started off paying 2 cents a click, we were the only advertising for a big, giant keyword phrase, okay? And you're going to get a couple clicks a day. You can get 5, 10, 15, 20 clicks a day depending on the product and depending on the keywords you're targeting. But think about this. If you can establish a ratio of 2 sales a day, and you're basically paying pennies per click, right? I like that. Because again, my mind starts to wonder. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so easy to private label these products. Once you get the process down, now granted, it's hard right now, but once you get the process down, it becomes easy to put product after product after product listed in there, right? I mean, it's just like anything. Setting up WordPress. The first time you set up WordPress, 30 minutes, right? 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, right? Then if you want to get better at WordPress, you do it again and again. Now I can set up WordPress in about 20 seconds because I've set it up a couple thousand times, you know? I don't even have to try anymore. I could do it blindfolded, I bet you. That would be a fun experiment, right? Can Jason Fladlin set up WordPress blindfolded? But same thing with your products. Once you get the Amazon process down, then it becomes very easy to set up your products. So if I do nothing more but run advertisements to my products and don't even get increased in the search engines or do anything else, I see that as a business that I can make a lot of money in, getting products listed. And that's one where I could literally create 2 products of the same white label manufacturer with just 2 separate labels. One targeting this type of sub-consumer and the other targeting this one, right? And I could advertise both of them on page 1 and dominate the whole page listings. This is a demented stuff that's going through my mind as I'm looking for the angles on Amazon, right? Because any product is going to be polar in a sense. Like I have a Mac, okay? So there's people that die and live for Macs, and there's people that hate them but want PCs, right? Imagine if I sold both the Mac and the PC, I could write 2 ads. One that says, you know, and I don't write these ads, but my title could say, PC suck, only buy Mac, right? And I could run another one that says, Mac suck, only buy PCs. They're both my products, right? And I have total marketplace immersion. And so if you do nothing else but get products listed for the advertising potential, that makes Amazon a viable business model at this point in time. 1 year from now, ain't going to exist anymore, okay? It ain't going to exist anymore because everybody will start doing it. If we start doing it in our market and then all of a sudden we get 3 competitors within 2 weeks because they see what we're doing, they're smart, you know? They start doing it. And for other markets, the same thing's going to happen, right? So you want to be the first one to do that, and you want to do the advertisement. It's a balance of when do I start advertising. I wouldn't recommend you start advertising until you get some reviews going because Your window of opportunity when you start advertising and get 2-cent clicks is going to last a few weeks before your competition probably comes in. But by then, how much money is that going to make you? How's that going to affect your ranking? How's that going to get some other things going on for you for Amazon? It's going to be very powerful for you. So I would definitely recommend doing the advertisement. Now here is the nuance to answer your question. It depends on your category, okay? There are some categories you can't even advertise on Amazon right now. So I was doing a one-on-one with a guy the other day. A consultation reviewing his Amazon product. And I said, do advertisements. And he goes, I tried, I can't. And I go, oh, I didn't know that. So it depends on your category. It depends on, and even in your category, I think it depends on a lot of factors that show up. I don't know what they are, but I'm not going to worry about it, okay? Because my whole plan is get this product running. If it makes me a couple $1,000s a month completely offhand, fantastic, because I'll create another product. And eventually, by luck, right, I will get a product that I can advertise for that'll be worth advertising, and everything will go good. But if we pin our hope on this one single shining light of greatness that is a product, we are setting ourselves up for a slim likelihood of success. So that's the focus on that with the whole product. So I could take a few questions related to this before we move on to the next portion, which is going to be the copywriting aspect of the product description once you have a product. So if anybody has any questions, shoot.
How do you protect your name? Do you register to try to trademark it? Do you copyright it?
Question.
What do you do?
That is a great question. We could talk more about, Will's going to talk about business structuring stuff later, because frankly, the less I know about that stuff, the better. But here's my approach, and it differs. The mileage differs for you as it was for me. I don't care. I mean, everybody in China steals a trademark anyway, and they don't care, right? So how can I stop them? Everybody does all kinds of stuff and encroaches on people every single day. So my point is, hey, if it happens, it happens. I ain't going to worry. I ain't going to lose any sleep over it. I just want to keep moving forward, right? So it's not a big concern of mine. Now, with that said, it's easy for me to say that because I know once we get any traction, I have the lawyers that I can go in and do that stuff. But I do it the opposite. You know, you ever watch those programs like Shark Tank or some of these other programs where somebody's like, I spent 15 years and $5 million on this product patent and all this stuff and everything. And they're like, how much have you ever tried to sell this to anybody? Well, not yet, you know. Well, I did all this other stuff first. It doesn't matter. If you can sell it in its barest infant form and it's not optimized at all, then imagine what you can do when you optimize it. And then once you start optimizing it, that's when you want to have the trademark conversation. That's when you want to have the copyright. That's when you want to insulate and protect everything about that from competitors and stuff, but not before then. You don't want to do it when there's no money coming in. That's my opinion, of course. Of course, if it drives you nuts to have it open and naked like that, and that's going to stop you from taking action, then just get the thing damn done so you can move on and not have to worry about it, right? But yeah, I mean, we could worry ourselves all night long about that kind of stuff, like the whole sales tax issue, which we'll talk about later, right? We just went forward with it knowing that we would find a solution, but it wasn't critical, day one important that we have it in place when we first started. We just needed it in place by the first settlement when we would need to pay that stuff out. And so that's the approach I've always taken. Get it going and then make it better.
It's a risk-reward type thing, right? So you have to evaluate what is the risk versus the potential reward. If you are trademarking something is going to be fairly expensive. If you do it yourself, it's going to be time-consuming. You might do it wrong. If you pay somebody to do it, you're talking at least a couple of $1,000 for a decent attorney to do it. And so are you going to go into and do all that stuff when you haven't even sold one item in your stock?
Yeah,
right?
I'd rather spend $2,000 on advertising.
Exactly. So you put that out there, you start selling it, and let's say you do infringe on somebody's trademark. What's the worst thing that's going to happen?
Like a cease and desist.
So you get a cease and desist. Right now, we're not lawyers. We're not giving you legal advice here, right? But my opinion is that if somebody came to us and said, hey, you're infringing our trademark, I'd be like, oh, okay. I've started selling a few products. Even if I had to pay royalties on the products I sold, what have I gained? I know that now I can sell that product. So now I can find a different name, rename the product, because I already know how to private label, right? So I'll change the label. And I'll start selling it again. Right? What's the likelihood somebody's going to come after you if you've sold, 100 units or something?
I will tell you, you're more likely to be fake bullied by supposed people who think that they can scare you with a fake trademark thing than you are to actually get a trademark slap. I've been. Did I turn it off or something?
Is it on?
It's
Can
on.
you hear in the back? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're more likely to get somebody who doesn't own the trademark write to you and say, this is my trademark, take it down, than you are to actually have a trademark infringement. Trust me, that's happened to me. The first few times I got scared and got bullied, but we had somebody do that to us with our WP member champ, remember?
Yeah, exactly.
We own this, and we sent it over to our lawyer, and our lawyers laughed in their face.
He said, ignore it.
He said, these guys are just trying to scare you, which is more likely to happen. So on the flip side, if somebody does attack you, don't get scared. Then have a lawyer look at it potentially, or if it's worth fighting, pick your battles, of course, right?
Yeah, so just weigh the risk versus the reward when it comes to that stuff. Obviously, do your due diligence, right? Don't go selling a product called an iPhone. I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? So, I mean, do your due diligence, do the best that you can, but I personally wouldn't worry about it, like Jason said, until you start selling it, you know? And again, even if you start selling it, what have you proved? It's not about the product itself, and it's not about the label. It's about your marketing of that product and of that label. So changing that label if you have to, changing the name, what's that going to do to you? Well, it's going to set you back a couple of steps, but that's no big deal. You just start over. You know the process. Just repeat it for whatever that label is.
Write a press release about
it.
it.
So it's not, yeah, write a press release about it, exactly.
Company has to change their name because of a trademark issue, you know? and to celebrate the new name, they're giving dollar coupons, you know? Mark, what's your question? How do you tell if it's a bluff or not? You hand it to a lawyer. Eventually, once you start making money, you're going to need a lawyer. You're going to need a lawyer, you're going to need an accountant, and you're going to need a financial advisor, and they should not be the same person. That's what that's what sports people do, right? And they all go broke. But yeah, I mean, eventually you'll have to do that. It's nice to have one. I wouldn't necessarily say you would need one today, although it is always nice to have. It's one of those things that you need, right?
You should be talking to a few, though. You should know who that person is going to be
dating
at the time you need them.
Yeah, before you tie the knot, date a couple lawyers. And frankly, I always try to turn it into a profit opportunity. I say, you know what, I'm setting up this nice business. I'm looking for a good lawyer, not just an average lawyer, a really good one. I heard you're good, you know. Let's talk sometime, see if there's something here, if this makes sense. And then while you're talking to him, you say, oh, by the way, I noticed this on your website, this on your Facebook page, this on your blah, 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 right? And you work deals. I mean, I'm born to work a deal. That's what I do. So I go in always bringing value, and then you get a feel of the lawyer, but there's a lot of instances where the lawyer that you hire can be your client simultaneously, too. We've been working on our accountant for years to sell products and to be the one that sells his products. Yeah, but you're going to want to go and look at them now even though you don't need them. Don't pay them any money. And by the way, they all give you free consultations for the most part, right? I mean, if you want a super duper advanced strategy, you go to LinkedIn and you say, hey, I'm looking for the best whatever in this area, who would you recommend? And then all the people that say, I don't have one, you follow up with them and you say, if I do find one, would it be cool for me to put you in touch with them? And then the ones that say, I recommend this one, then you say, okay, great. And the ones that say, I don't know, I got this one, but I'm not happy. If I find the best one, would it be okay for me to put you in touch with them? Then you go to these lawyers and say, hey, listen, first thing, I'm looking for a good lawyer, right? Second thing, I got 50 people on LinkedIn who are also looking for a good lawyer. Is it okay if I send some of them to you? Would you like some extra business or not? I don't know. You know, maybe. They're going to say, who is this person? You know? And you're going to have a whole different relationship. You come from a position of value, not a position of, oh my God, I just need this lawyer. But that's advanced stuff, okay? Don't do that now. Just let it sit in your brain, and then the opportunity will come one day where you can do that thing. And you'll say, thanks, Jason, for sharing that little tip with me, right? Okay, so let's go on to the copy then. Oh, yeah, Mark, did you have anything else to add? All right, so the copy is not that important, as weird as that sounds. Everybody I'm seeing in the forums, everybody I'm seeing in our Facebook group, even the people that I've done some one-on-ones with, the copy is not that important. Not a big deal. And I know that sounds weird coming from one of the best copywriters in the world, if I can so humbly anoint myself that, right? Which any copywriter will do. But the copy is not that important. Let me tell you why. You go to the store and you're looking through the different product section. You know, is it the label that sells you? Is it like the write-up? Like, you know, you want to get this melon. It's so lush. It's so fresh. It was picked from the Guatemalan forest of endless youth, right? You don't buy it because of that, right? You evaluate it. You say, I can get this melon or I can get this melon. This one looks better. This one's mushier, you know. This one, it might even be a little bit more expensive, but maybe I want it, yada, yada, yada. You buy in a marketplace based on comparison. That's what you do, okay? A long time ago, I cut my teeth in a forum called the Warrior Forum. And it was a marketplace. And I was one of the few people that understood that dynamic. That people who go at that time, this was before there was an affiliate program for it, and then before it's turned into a bastardized version of its former self, there was a time where people would go, money in hand, credit card in hand, shopping with like basically a virtual shopper cart under their arms. I want this product, I want this information product, I want this information product. And once I understood that, I started selling product much differently than the people who were selling it with big benefit, big headline, cram it down your throat, yada, 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 super hypey, right? I understood if people are waiting in the checkout line and I'm on the rack for this purchase that they can grab and put in their cart as they buy, and that's a different psychology than normally just landing on a web page, right, with just you and the web page. I better key in on different persuasion factors to get this out, right? So what do you have going for you on Amazon that you don't have going for you on your long-form, hard-hitting, existing sales page? Well, you have the brand of Amazon, right? That's going to sell better than the best copywriter in the world writing your product, having the Amazon brand behind you. You do realize Amazon runs several thousand split tests a day, too. So you have their optimization process behind you. Okay, everything that they do on there is done intentionally. They have the fastest loading times on the planet because every millisecond they save on loading time is another couple $1 million a day they make or something ridiculous like that, right? You want to leverage that fact. So what we have to do when we list our product on Amazon, we have to stand out in the marketplace. So how do we do that? That's the key question. Okay, every single person that I've seen when I've reviewed their copy for them, they've always ended with the same hard-hitting headline. And the hard-hitting headline was, or the call to action was this. So go ahead and click that orange button in the top right corner of your page now to buy my product. That's not a good call to action. And I've told every single one of them that. Now let me ask you a question, and I want somebody to yell out the answer. Why is that not a good call to action for Amazon specifically? Don't be scared. They already know how to do it. What else? You in the back with bald-headed man.
That was the exact call to action that Matt recommended in the video.
I know, and I understand why he did it, right? And Matt's better at me.
It was an example, but people took it. A lot of people took it literally, right?
And Matt's better at me than a million things when it comes to Amazon. But I believe I'm a better copywriter than him. So I'm going to give you advice over him on that one. But okay, so people already know how to buy, which is important, right? I mean, you buy products on Amazon constantly. So you know the buying process. Now, if you landed on my stray naked web page and I could be using JVZoo or ClickBank or One Shopping Cart or Nanocaster or Infusionsoft, you don't know what the checkout process is going to be like when you purchase my product on my page and it's in the wild, right? So then it's smart to sit down and tell you how to purchase it because any moment that you get scared of the unknown, you're going to leave. You don't have that fear of the unknown with Amazon. So we don't have to necessarily be aggressive. But here's the most important things. We are not aggressive because everybody else that they can compare us to in the marketplace directly is not that aggressive. So we have to be a little bit more finessed. Otherwise, we are going to buy standing out too much. We are going to be too different. It's like the person that shows up in a full-on three-piece suit at an event like this when everybody else is in business casual, right? And I'm up here speaking with $10 Walmart sandals on, you know? That person stands out. And thank God nobody here has that suit on today, but I guarantee you there'll be a couple people at the live event. Point them out and tell me if you don't feel slightly uncomfortable around them when they're decked out in the suit and we're all in business casual or casual in my case, right? You stand out too much. Now, that's one thing, but imagine the other opposite end. If everybody was in suits and you showed up looking like me, you know, then that's going to really freak people out. And that's what you look like on Amazon if you do an aggressive call to action like that. The reality is it going to make much of a difference? No, because most people don't even read the product description, which I'm going to get into, right? But if it makes 1% difference, we should kind of consider doing it, considering it's so easy. So here's the call to action I use, and I've used this for everything. This product, and usually product name, right? Acme Widgets. What's your product name, Jim? Let me see it. Toss it on over here. Throw it. Perfect Pet, Liquicom. Okay, I'm going to pitch this product, Liquicom. Liquicom is so good, you should get two, because they make good gifts for a friend, right? Or you say something like this, you know, you're going to love Liquicom so much, you might as well grab one for a friend when you check out, okay? This is a finessed close, very finessed. It's aggressive in a sense, but it's not off-putting, you know what I mean? It doesn't say, like, smash this big fat button now, catch. Nice. It doesn't say, you know, all that kind of stuff like we normally would say in internet marketing, which is normally a good close. It's finesse, but what have we done here? Why do I specifically choose that wording? We are in a marketplace. A marketplace is social in a sense. A marketplace is comparative. A marketplace usually has the input of friends. You usually buy stuff in a marketplace because your friends recommend that you buy it. So I'm using that to my advantage. I am at the same time being direct, because it's always important to be direct when you do a call to action. I am doing it in another fashion of the social proof. This product is so good. You should get it for a friend. But I'm doing it for one more reason, which is what? People are used to buying more than one thing on Amazon, right? I'm doing it to bump the order. Crazy. That's copywriting gold for you right there. It accomplishes so much in so little time. And it's funny, and I don't want to pick on anybody here, so hopefully the person in the audience didn't build this tool, but I'm seeing them in ASM, and they're like, somebody's creating this tool for the HTML copy thing, you know, and they're like, oh, you could save 2 characters if you reduce this thing and don't close this tag here. Is anybody familiar with that tool? Okay. It's a good tool, right? Nobody here built that tool, right? Okay, how many hours do you think the person spent on that? 10, 15, 20, right? And I'm like, and I'm a copywriter, right? I'm like, I don't even use all the characters. I keep it short and simple. Here's what I do, and here's what I've told everybody in the product description. I want 50 to 100 benefits in the first 2 paragraphs. Doesn't that sound incredible? 50 to 100 benefits in the first 2 paragraphs. How do you do that? Here's the system. The first thing you do, you set a timer for 30 minutes, and it's important to always use timers. You've noticed I use timers for everything, because otherwise, if we don't put a timeline on it, it expands to fill eternity, right? It never gets done, because you can always do better, but this is how we stop ourselves from spending too much time and reaching the point of diminishing returns. I say 30 minutes. Here's what I do. I load up my browser, I put in my keyword term, right, my top keyword term, and I look at the top product, the first 3 reviews, the helpful reviews, right? And when I'm reading that, I'm looking for 3 things when I read each of these reviews. I'm looking for a primary benefit, or primary benefits, plural. I'm looking for secondary benefits, and I'm looking for pain points, okay? So, what does your product do, Jim? Okay. God, I tell you, you pet lovers, man, you make the best marks for selling stuff too. An anti-anxiety pet solvent, you know, I don't know, right? But the benefit, of course, is, I mean, what are some of the benefits? Yeah, they'll rip up stuff, they'll go crazy, you know, they start biting the owner, I don't know, you know, they get crazy, right? And the other thing is, of course, most people love their animal, they treat it like a child, and so they hurt because their animal hurts. They feel bad because their animal feels bad, et cetera, right? So when I'm looking through his product, if I put that keyword term that he's shooting for in the search engine, in Amazon, and I see the top 3 helpful reviews, and somebody says, you know, this product saved me several $1,000s because my animal otherwise would have ripped up my prized possession of beef jerky collectibles, you know? Let me ask you a question. Is that a primary benefit or a secondary benefit or a pain point? It's a couple things, isn't it? So I would put under pain point stuff getting ripped up, you know? And specifically, I try to use the exact phrase that they use. You recycle. You speak the same language that your customers speak as much as possible. But what's the benefit? The benefit, obviously, is that your stuff is going to remain intact. Like if it gets broke, it's because of you, not your dog. You know, that's a benefit. So I write that down. Okay. And if that person mentions other benefits in their review, I write those down. And then I go to the second one and the third one, and then I do this for the second product, third product in the listing, the fourth product in the listing, the fifth product in the listing. And here's the main difference between primary and secondary benefits. If, for example, a primary benefit for Jim's thing is your dog is going to be happier and that makes you happier, I would consider that a primary benefit, right? That's very important to the product. If Jim's thing was like, this bottle comes in 6 different colors that you can choose from, that's a benefit, right? But is it really necessary that somebody have that benefit? It's a nice thing to have, but it's not required. That's a secondary benefit, okay? Now, if we did this process, and by the way, when I say 50 to 100 benefits in the first 2 paragraphs, I'm not meaning 50 to 100 unique benefits. It could be the same thing said slightly differently, right? So calming your pet down and anxiety-free are basically the same thing, right? Slightly different, but the same thing. But I can incorporate both of those things very quickly into my opening paragraph. But if I'm shooting for 50 to 100 benefits in my thing, I can't do that unless I've collected the benefits. And so we collect the benefits for 30 minutes. And when you're done, you will have a list. You have a huge list. And then all you got to do is play puzzle pieces, right? You got to somehow string these together in a semi-coherent fashion where you cram in as many benefits as possible. So what I usually do is I'll write those first 2 paragraphs trying to cram in as many benefits as possible based on my master list, right? And at this point, I don't care if I'm mixing secondary, primary, and pain points. I just grab them as they make sense and cram them in there, right? It's like packing for a trip. I'm stepping on that suitcase and slamming it in there. And then when I'm done, I read the whole thing and I look at my list and I say, okay, what else can I cram in there? And the second time through, I figure out a way to cram in a few more. And then I step one more time back and I cram it in a third way, right? Those are my first 2 paragraphs of my product description. I will have so many benefits, but here's what's important. What do my customers really want from a dog anti-anxiety thing, right? Hell, I don't know, you know? I'm not in that market. I'm not my own customer, right? So I could guess. I mean, it's obvious that probably the things that Jim said are important, but how important are they? Well, if my customers are telling me and they mention over and over again that these things are important, then I know they're important. I can't tell you how many times I see people, and this isn't everything, not just with these Amazon listings. They say, people really want this. And I say, how do you know? Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? It does make sense, but I'll tell you what, people don't make sense, okay? We're all very illogical creatures. So I don't guess. I don't say, well, this would make the most sense, or it should. This should be how it is, right? But it's not. So I'm going to go with the thing that people mention the most, okay? I'm going to go with the benefits that people are specifically telling me over and over again in the product reviews, which, by the way, is a huge thing Amazon has that most places don't. You know how hard it is for me to do research for internet marketing products? There's no marketplace I can go to that says, here you go, Jason. Here's everything your customers want. Okay, let me just document it and then put it into some sentences. I don't have to do that. I have to do wizardry. I have to dig deep down inside and find the thing behind the thing, behind the thing, behind the thing, before I even have a chance, right? But not with Amazon. So this is how we do your product description. So after you do the first 2 paragraphs, we cram in as many benefits as we can. If you can't get 50, then at least you tried. You're still better than 99% of the people, right? Then from that, I switch into what the product is, in a sense. And there's very specifically reasons I do this. One is because most people are buying, and this is the difference between a physical product and an information product. If I'm selling you an information product, what am I really selling you? An intangible item. You can't feel it, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, you can't hear it, you can't roll around in it, right? It exists in ethereal space, which is good and bad. It's good because if I'm a really good salesman, I can sell you thin air and make you pay a lot of money for it, right? It's really bad because I have to be a good salesman. Because if I don't make you understand the value, you ain't going to buy it because you can't feel it, touch it, smell it, see it, hear it, et cetera, right? But I mean, how many products are so poorly marketed out there that are physical that you buy every day with the worst marketing possible? Lots of them, right? Because you can pick them up. You can touch them. There's direct utility in them. If you buy an ebook, there's only utility there if you read it, understand it, synthesize a plan of action from it, and then take that plan of action. That's like 5 steps, right? But if I grab Jim's bottle and like dab it on my pet, in 2 seconds, I have a utility with the physical product, right? So your product on its own does most of its selling. Now, naturally, of course, the better we can enhance that selling, the better we will be, okay? But we want to reinforce that because when people go to Amazon to buy products, That's what they're really looking for. So in this case, we break a copywriting rule and we key in on features. But we do it in a specific fashion in our product description. So give me a feature of that product, Jim. What makes that product so great as far as how it was concocted? All natural, okay? So all natural ingredients, that's a feature. So now we translate it into a benefit. So we can say, this is made with all natural ingredients. So what? So nothing harmful to the animal, which, by the way, is a fallacy. I love this. Natural does not equal better, by the way. It's not natural that I got in a plane and flew here, but it's a hell of a lot better than getting on the ox in the cart and flying over, and coming back here, all that kind of stuff, right? But you could say natural, because it was natural, you're also reducing the carbon emission on the environment or something along those lines. And if you could translate a feature into a benefit, it's easiest if you can just, again, do it in the language of the customer based on that review again, right? So we switch from the first part. The first 2 paragraphs are basically we're selling them on the experience. You want to buy this thing because of these 50 to 100 benefits I've crammed in. Then once I've sold you on the experience, and I've only done it in 2 paragraphs, then I explain to you what this product is. So we legitimize it in a sense. So even further, and this is actually really, really easy. I mean, what's some other specs? Like, how big is that, a 3.8 ounce bottle? Damn, good. I saw it earlier on the label. 92 servings. That's a feature, right? 92 servings. So what's the benefit? So a feature is the feature. That's what you're doing there. So the benefit is you don't have to continually have to reorder this thing. It's very unlikely that your dog's going to spaz out and you're going to be gone and you're not going to have any more, right? Anything like that. So you want to tie a feature to a benefit. When you say, it's small, it's portable. So when we say 3.8 ounces, it's slightly over what you could take on a carry-on on a plane, right? Which kind of sucks. But I mean, you could put it in your pocket and carry it with you, right? 3.8 ounces, so you could, take it with you on the go. So like, if you go to the in-laws with the dog, right, they're not going to hate you by the time you're done if a storm breaks out, that kind of stuff. And so what we do is we compare these features. Features legitimize the product, by the way. It's one thing if I say, this product is the greatest thing in mankind. It's another if I say this was triple fiber woven synthetic resin material based blah, blah, blah. So therefore, it's going to be durable. Reason why marketing is what they call this. And it doesn't make any sense, but as long as you give a reason why, people are much more compliant. So if I can say to you, and this is one I use all the time, I'm revealing a trick to you today. This is a special offer because I put a time limit on it. It's not going to be available every day. My reason why I'm giving you this discount today is because it's not going to be available next week. Is that really a reason why it's special? Not really. But it's a reason why. So you say, okay, yeah, it makes sense, right? But if I say, here's a special offer, buy it, and I have no reason why, right? You're going to be suspicious. He's trying to trick me. It's not really special. Or he inflated the price just so he could discount it, or you start thinking of all these reasons. Now, the better the reason why, the better. If I can say, this is a special offer because I only have 49 of these and they got damaged when they took them off the truck and I'm just I want to get rid of these things, and when they're getting rid of, we're going to go back to the regular price, then that's more powerful, right? But it's still a reason why that sells it. But if you just say, here, this is 2 cents when it's normally 20 bucks, people are going to be like, is there poison in that thing? I don't want to buy that thing. There's got to be a catch somewhere, okay? So this is how we legitimize the product. We take a feature, and ideally the more scientific sounding the feature is, the better, and we tie it to a benefit of why that is. And so, like, I don't know, what's one of the main ingredients in that thing? And why is that? Why is it good that it's an extract from green tea? It's a health thing, right? It's an antioxidant or something, right? What's the name of the chemical again? So you want to use the chemical name because that sounds professional. That's like putting a doctor in front of your name, right? L-theine root, whatever, which is an extract of green tea. So this all which has proven antioxidant properties. And people are like, damn, this thing must be good, I wouldn't want to recommend you do this out of your own, but if you've ever read any copy by Joe Sugarman, He is the best one in the world. This is where I learned this from. Because he used to sell like those Blu-ray sunglasses and all this kind of other stuff, all these kind of techie gadgets. If you can get your hands on some Joe Sugarman ads, and don't spend a lot of time doing it, but just Google it one day. He is the best one ever at translating a super boring product detail like that into a benefit. And it legitimizes it. You say, this is what the product is, so therefore, benefit. Now, is it the same damn benefit that you might have mentioned in the first 2 paragraphs? Yeah. But now it lends credibility to it. That's it. Well, wrapping your head around anything hurts, so let's not do that. I can't off the top of my head because it's a methodical process. Once you actually write down all the benefits, it becomes a puzzle, you know, and you cram them in there. That's how you do it. It's not, there's no creativity to it whatsoever. Yes. Every word almost is a benefit as much as possible, with the exception of the, I, we, and, or, you know. Almost everything is a benefit. And honestly, I shoot for 50 to 100. If I get 20 in there, I'm good. So it's not something you want to beat yourself up on, right? But what you want to do is descriptive words, okay? So I can say, you know, this product is really, really good, or I can say things along, you know, it soothes the dog. It calms the dog. The dog reaches an inner Zen state, and in this inner Zen state, the animal's skin sparkles or its fur sparkles, right? And when you catch it off your eye, it's a sight to behold. And your spouse will come in there thinking you're the savior. You know, see how I've crammed in 10 benefits right there in 2 sentences. It's actually much easier in practice than it sounds when I'm explaining it to you here. Well, yeah, of course they will, right? And so in this particular case, we want to focus mainly on the benefits our customers are saying that we know our product can deliver on, obviously. But yeah, you mention it in certain factors of all the different stuff. Like, you know, our product, I know nothing about it. I'm not the market. I don't know anybody that's in the market for our product. Like, I can't talk to anybody who's in the market. I have people who think they're in the market for this product and want to give me their wonderful advice on how to market it, right? But here's what I always answer them. I said, have you ever bought a product like this before in your life? No. Okay, I don't care what you say, you know? Everybody thinks they're an advertising master, right? Nobody comes to the doctor or the dentist. Nobody sits down at the dentist and say, I don't think you put that crown in properly. Here's how I would have done it, right? But everybody comes to the advertising professional and they say, oh, I think you should do it this way because I've seen a lot of advertisements in my day, you know? Be nice to them if you want. That's optional, right? But don't really listen to them. What you want is people who buy the product. And in light of that, since we don't know any personally, I read the reviews. These are people who bought the product. And I get my language from them and I synthesize it. Okay? So then from the, did you have something to say? That's a great answer, by the way. I do. That's an advanced strategy. So it sounds, it can work if you cram in all those benefits straightforward, and that's the easiest way to do it, right? If you can put it in a story narrative, then it's much more palatable to somebody to read, right? It gets them more excited. It immerses them. But admittedly, it is an advanced strategy to weave the tapestry of the story. Like I gave an example in ASM of that life jack thing, you know, like the car thing that can break the window and you can get out. And instead of just saying, you know, it's like this benefit, this benefit, this benefit, this benefit. If you actually read that, you can count probably 20, 30, 40 benefits. And I honestly did that just to show people an example. Didn't even do it methodically, just off the top of my head, right? I crammed in all those benefits, but I put it in a story narrative. So that way it doesn't sound like marketing speak. It doesn't sound like I'm trying to sell you. I'm entertaining you. I'm telling you a story. So it allows me to get more aggressive without standing out. It's standing out in a good way in the marketplace, right? And my English teacher would agree with you, right? But I'm not writing a story that's going to even have a beginning, middle, and an end, right? I'm just doing it to what I call, hold on a second. I'm just putting my product in motion, okay? My product sits here and it's static. I want to put it in motion. And honestly, from a marketing standpoint, if I can leave the story open, that's even better, because then the mind closes it itself. and you sit there and think about the product more so. So yeah, I mean, I just introduce a story, and I don't even have a resolution to it necessarily. I just want to use it as a vehicle to deliver my benefits. But if I can't come up with that, straightforward still works pretty good. Maxon. Good idea. I told you to wait on that, right? She basically asked about the story. It seems incomplete unless characters are introduced, right? Again, I will tell you, go to, yes? I love it. Oh, you don't mean like a role character. I'm very, when I get into story mode, I'm thinking characters and arcs and stuff. Yeah, when you're running out of characters, and see, this is why it's an advanced strategy. Writing a story is hard because you have to learn how to say a lot in a little amount of time, right? It's tough. So in that particular case, and that's why it's an advanced strategy, words are so hard to use. Certain words can say everything in one word, and other words you could take 15 sentences and say nothing, you know? So if you're struggling with running out of characters, and I'm not saying you're necessarily doing that, if you're struggling and running out of characters, then just go straight forward. And then that's good. And then while that's running, maybe take a whack at it again next week, you know? And you might be able to codify it and do something. I used to think it was easy because I could do it so easily because I've done it so often. And then I've noticed it's not easy because most people have trouble doing it. So you just want to go back and trying, because if you can write that kind of copy, fantastic. Now, again, the resource I recommend is, what's his name? No, he's good for product to benefits. Peterman, J. Peterman. So J. Peterman catalog, if you Google J. Peterman, or I think it's just jpeterman.com, he writes the best copy in the world. Now keep in mind, these are 6, 7-figure copywriters, so you will never be that good. I will never be that good. You just use it as inspiration. This is what a story looks like in action. This is how they draw. This is how they make something as boring as a purse sound like the greatest thing in the world, you know? Okay, so then when we're talking about translating product features into benefits, then when we're done, that's when we simply throw in the guarantee and we go to the call to action, right? And I talked about the call to action. The guarantee is pretty obvious. You don't have to get fancy with it. You can, something I like to do, because again, keep in mind, we're keying into the marketplace, right? I'll say, look at our competitors and see if they guarantee their product. We guarantee ours, ... You know, and I let them fill in the blank themselves, because we're in the marketplace, right? So we're not foolish enough to assume that we're the only product that they're looking at. Instead, we understand that and we use that to our advantage, and that's how I kind of phrase the guarantee. Now, with all that said, the product description is the least important part in your Amazon listing. Okay, it's good to have, and you want a good one, right? It's worth spending an afternoon crafting, but it is the least important part of your whole Amazon listing. And everybody has it backwards. Most people think it's the most important part of your listing, because in a normal sales process, it would be, right? Normally, it would be your most important process, and this time it's the least. What's the most important thing in your copy for your Amazon listing? Nope. Nope. Pictures. Image, which has nothing to do with writing copy, but it has everything to do with copy, okay? This is the #1 thing to the humans. Your title is the most important thing to the search engines, okay? So we write the title for the search engine, and maybe the reader will also read it, right? But usually not. They usually will click on a listing in a marketplace because of the image that they see. There are exceptions. Exception #1, their friend told them about it. Exception #2, they heard about it online. Exception #3, somebody marketed to them as an affiliate, and they clicked through and they found it that way, right? But more often than not, the way our people are going to buy our products are because they do a search for it, and they click on our link, mainly because of the picture. Would you agree with that? It's funny, once you think about it, it's fairly obvious, right? But everybody's focusing on the copy. The picture is the most important thing of all. Which, by the way, you know, I have to sheepishly admit that we have one picture right now for our product. We need more. And I'm going to get them. And I think just that alone will help us convert better if we do advertisement or if we do some of these other things, right? In reality, actually, this is the thing you can control. The most important thing overall for an Amazon listing is what? the reviews, which we can't write. Wouldn't it be great if we could? We have to get those organically. So naturally, the product image helps facilitate the sales, which then gets us the reviews. But the number one most important, absolute most important thing you can do for an Amazon listing is the reviews. That's why you look at these people and you shake your head who are number one, who have one line of copy, and it's stupid, and it's not even spelled correctly, right? And yet they're selling millions of dollars a year. Because here's what most people do on Amazon, okay? I want to buy baby bottles. Max is coming. And okay, I got to get some baby bottles. I go to Amazon to buy them, of course, right? Why would I go to my store when I could just order them off Amazon? And so what do I do? What do I know about baby bottles? Okay, so I type in baby bottles. I select the department to sort them so I can sort the results. And I sort them by what? Highest reviews. And now, all of a sudden, boom, these things pop up. And I'm like, So I look at these first bottles, and they're super duper expensive. I'm like, I ain't going to spend that much on a bottle. My baby isn't worth that much to me. No, I'm kidding. I can't justify that this thing is worth this much. So I skip it. But I go to this one. I find these bottles that honestly are like $1.50, but they're the greatest bottles in the world. And I end up ordering 24 of them eventually. I ordered a small amount at first, overnighted, of course. Just so I could see them, just decide if I want to order more, right? And then I go and I order more later, and it's so funny because these things are so great, but they're so unassuming. They look so ugly. They look so cheap. But they're the best bottles in the world. And at first, I was willing to take a gamble on it based on the reviews. I sat there and read 15 reviews as a customer, right? This was before our ASM product even existed, or before ASM even existed, because Max was born in January of this year, right? So I'm looking at this stuff. And I buy it, and it's good, so then I buy more. But it baffles my mind because there's no way I would have found that. It was like buried on pages, and it was some weird off-brand thing, and I don't even know, right? But I do the same thing when I buy a snowblower, a $500 purchase. I did the same thing when I bought a washing machine because I used to have these fancy, I still have the dryer, but the washer with the front-end loader, you know, so the top loader, this thing, it's all techie, right? Those things suck. And it's one of those deals where, like, technology has failed us, you know? Give me one of these old ones with the thing that pulls up here and no electronics that we can cram 5 loads in and run it, you know? So I thought the front-end loader, because it's super expensive, it's high-tech, it's new, it'd be great. It's not. And I go on to Amazon and I start doing these searches and I'm sorting by reviews, right? And all these reviews are talking about this like Speed Queen from, I can't even remember. And I mean, this thing looks ugly, it's generic, it has horrible copy, but all these people are writing about how good this product is, you know? So I buy a $500 washing machine, sight unseen, from Amazon, just based on the reviews. And then you know, they have to ship it to my house, and all kinds of craziness ensues, which is a whole different story. But and how do I buy? I buy by sorting by the results. In a lot of markets, you'll find for certain products, there are no. If you sort by results, the results are horrible. They will give you stuff in the general category level, right? That's not even exactly related. It's usually some like accessory to the main product you want, right? And you've got to wade through. That's because nobody has a specific fashion of getting reviews, right? Nobody has a good thing, but if you did, then you're going to be at the top. And a lot of people, Amazon compulsive shoppers, who are my favorite people, me included in that category, that's how we buy, okay? So when we do that search, then we're not going to be wooed by an image. We're going to be wooed by a review. But in order for us to get the reviews, we have to sell product first. In order for us to sell product, the image usually makes the most sense, right? And now we get into a territory that most people know nothing about, that I know everything about. I do all the graphic design for Rapid Crush, which I probably shouldn't. It's probably not the best use of my time, but I love graphics and I love images so much, and I understand their importance. Drastic importance in the marketplace on how you can use images. Now, it depends on the product, but let me use Jim's product for an example, okay? We have the normal option, which I guarantee everybody's usually, almost everybody in his market is doing. We could get a photographer in here. We could take a picture of that thing, and we could put it on Amazon. What's the problems with doing that? Lighting, oh my God. We could spend hours talking about lighting. Getting lighting off an image is incredibly hard to do. The shadows, the color saturation, the balance. I mean, it's an art. And most photographers can't even do this. By the way, can somebody give me a glass of water? Not all at once. I think Will's going to give me one. Thank you. I love that guy. So we can do an image. Okay, now if we even take a photo shot of it, that doesn't necessarily mean we have something. We have something representative of the product, but how's that going to help us sell it, right? So here's what I like to do. And I'm a digital child. I was born and raised in the digital era, and so maybe this comes more second nature to me than most people, but I want to create what they call a 3D rendering of that. And anybody worth their weight in Photoshop can do this. Here's the cool thing. I'm sure your private labeler gave you the specs to that product, right? Height, width. They didn't? Well, ask them, because they got to have them. And your specs are going to be on Amazon too, right?
Yeah, I measured it.
That's so funny. See, this is what I'm talking about. Private labelers are not very professional, are they? Ours, at least, and most of them will give you the specs. They will say, this is the dimensions of the product, which is what? Like width, height, length, or depth, or whatever they call it, right? In Photoshop, I can take that and specifically build a product with that input. I can say, make it this by this, inch-wise. Now, it's a graphical representation on an aspect ratio that's not exactly 6 inches on my screen, you know? But everything is in appropriate proportion, if that makes sense. Do you have something to say, Jim?
That's why I'm just, my company is so poorly informed about the product. Couldn't tell me what the volume was, 3.8 ounces.
Which is more common than you would think. This is, and again, this is why these people don't sell products on Amazon. It's a miracle that they can manufacture them. It's like they woke up one day and they said, I want to learn how to manufacture a product, and then stop and never learn anything again, right? Because that's what it is. There's a lot of money, I think, in targeting these manufacturers and helping them in a sense that they're not dumb enough to realize that they need help, which they probably are. But I could take this and make a perfect 3D representation of this, a 3D rendering in Photoshop, if I was skilled enough. By the way, I am, but I don't want you to do that. I want you to hire somebody to do that. We'll talk about that, right? We could take a 3D rendering of that. Now, here's what's beautiful. I can control the light precisely in Photoshop. I can control the color saturation precisely in something like Photoshop. I can do little tricks that I know as a graphic designer you never notice them consciously in the image, but there they say, grabbing your eye, okay? Now, by the way, if we're going to take a photo of the image, just a regular, get the camera out, snap it, right? If we're going to do anything, we still got to bring it into Photoshop, because any professional will bring a raw image into Photoshop and doctor it anyway. Every single magazine cover you see has somebody Photoshopped on the front image. They've gotten the zits and they removed the zits and they've done something with the hair and all that kind of stuff, right? Every good photo is doctored in Photoshop. If you look at some of the top photos in certain markets in Amazon, they look so beautiful. You will never, no matter what camera you have, no matter how good of a photographer you have, you will never get your picture to look that good unless you bring it into Photoshop and tweak it, okay? So let's just start in Photoshop. Then we don't even have to hire the damn photographer. Because the other thing, and I'll get to your question here in a second, the other thing is, and this is an old music term from my music days, they call it garbage in, garbage out. Okay? I could be the greatest sound engineer in the world, but if you record it on a crappy mic like this, I don't got much to work with. So you got to have a good camera. The better the camera, the better raw material you have to manipulate. But if you got a crappy camera, you're screwed. If you got a bad photographer, and believe me, there's lots of them, then you're screwed. And then worse, here's the thing of all, it's like if you don't if you don't direct the photographer, you could still be screwed even if they're a really good photographer and they have a really good device, because they'll want to photograph it like a photographer. And yes, it might win an award on how beautiful it is, but I don't care. I want the thing to sell for me. And selling and winning awards are not usually compatible with each other. You know what I mean? So what were you going to say, Mark? Well, yeah, I mean, they say that, right? But when I'm done, you will never know that my thing is a 3D rendering. It will look so much like a real image that you will know no difference. Nobody could tell, right? And that's what anybody can do that, right? So it's a 3D rendering. What I mean by that is I don't mean we necessarily make it look graphical, like an image. I mean like a graphic, right? Like when I'm done, this thing is going to look just like we took a photograph of it. And in fact, if we want to, we can buy some stock background image, right, and put it on a counter. And now it looks like it's in an environment. You know, I could Photoshop somebody holding the damn image, the thing, if I wanted to, and you would have no clue that what I did there was built that whole thing from scratch. That's what we did with our product. What I did was I found the bottle dimensions, because I even did a hack, a shortcut, if you will. I found a stock photograph of a blank container that was the exact dimensions of ours. I brought that into Photoshop, and then I slapped on what they call a smart object over the top of it with our image. And when it's done, nobody has any clue that this is not a photograph that I took, even though it's just a 3D rendering. Now, on the flip side, of course, too, the other thing is Amazon says in one hand and does in another hand, you know? So make of that what you will. But technically, Amazon says your image of your product alone should take up 80% of your photograph. So if like we had like Lassie in there with this thing next to her, right? Lassie can't take up 80%, and this little tiny little bottle of yours take up the other ones. Lassie would have to be this big, and the bottle would have to be this big. But nobody does that, right? I mean, I can find I see stuff like people's logo. They put their logo on the thing. You're not supposed to do that technically. So I would rather ask for forgiveness than permission. And so yeah, that's what I do. What I do with 3D rendering, you're right. If you do bad photoshopping, then yeah, you deserve for Amazon to slap you around. But if you do proper photoshopping, we have something that's going to look better than any image ever could, and it's going to be 100% created from scratch, which is beautiful because then we can manipulate it and do everything we want with it. Then we can take it to stock image sites, and we could say, put this image on this counter, put this image in this person's hand, put this image in this thing, in this context, right? And they will be able to do that. Now, just like anything, how do you find somebody in Photoshop to do this? Odesk is the best place to do, okay? But even then, that's not very helpful to you. Great, we go to Odesk. Now what do we do, Jason? Okay. Yes, I mean, that's ideal, but in the real world, we could be waiting a while, and I have no patience. It depends on the thing here, but this is one of those industries, and there's a lot of industries like this, and this is a phrase I hate to hear all the time. I hear it all the time. You get what you pay for, right? If only it were that simple. Then I could just pay a lot of money if I wanted quality and pay a little bit of money if I don't. But I'm sure there's been times, and you would agree with me, where I paid a little and got a whole bunch of quality, and other times where I paid a lot and got almost zero quality, right? Unfortunately, you don't get what you pay for. It can be an indicator to judge off of, but it's usually not even the best indicator. So here's what I do. You go to Odesk and you say, hey, here's the deal. I want to find a good designer to work with on an ongoing basis, which you do, right? Because you're going to hopefully create a lot of these images, create more products, list them. You're going to need them. A good designer is worth their weight, okay? They're amazing if you get a good designer. So you're going to ask for a good designer, and then you can say, now here's the deal. I'm going to give you a test project that's super cheap to start with. So you're not going to make any money off this thing, basically. For $10, I want you to create this rendering, all right? Now you go in there and you do your due diligence, right? So you look at their portfolio, you look at the past results and the rankings you get, knowing that it's still just a flip of a coin if they're any good or not. And then you judge them based on their results. Expect the first few you hire to suck, because they probably will, right? So you hire the same job again, and you go back and you find another designer. But the key here is speed. I want to, as quickly as possible, find a good designer. Is Derby here? Where the hell is... What a punk. Okay, so Derby, he's got a full-time graphic designer on Odesk. We're actually launching a product with him in a couple of weeks, just to shamelessly plug it for you today to be on the lookout for. But Derby found a full-time designer on Odesk with this exact same technique that I'm breaking down to you today. But once you find them, you keep them, and they can do all kinds of design for you. They can make the action shots and all those things. What are you going to say, Will?
Yeah, when you're hiring for a small project that is fairly inexpensive, $10, $20, don't be afraid to hire 5, 6, 7 people to do the same exact job at the same time. That's the way you get results fast and you find the right person fast, because eventually you're going to want 1 or 2 people that are your go-to people that you can send a job and you know it's going to come back with a with very good quality. But it takes, you know, 10, going through 10 outsourcers to find one really good one. Yeah. And you don't want to do that on a serial basis. You want to do that as much as possible in parallel. So that concept of getting a small test job and hiring 5, 6, 7, 10 people at the same time is very, very powerful, as opposed to hiring one and then you wait 2, 3 days and you get the results and it's not good. Then you go hire the next one and it's 2 or 3 more days and the results aren't good. So now you're talking a month to find potentially a good person, whereas you could have hired the right one within 3 days.
Exactly. And that's usually how we get bargains too, because you start off super cheap and you tell them, you know, I'm lowballing you. You don't use that word necessarily, but you lowball them, because the whole thing is I want a good graphic designer to work on an ongoing basis, but I have to test you out first. So then you can find these diamonds in the rough that you pay $5, $10 for. Because honestly, a 3D rendering, any person that's decent at Photoshop, and trust me, they're all over the world. It's amazing how good some of these people are, who their cost of living for a day, if they make $10 a day, they are above the average income that people make in a day, right? So they'll spend an hour for $10 and they'll be super happy, and that doesn't mean they're not qualified, right? It might mean it's hard to communicate with them, and we run into those issues, right? But you'd be amazed at how cheaply you can get good talent, but you won't do it by research. You won't do it by your due diligence, okay? You will do it by hiring a lot of people really cheaply, and then you'll see what shakes out. Now, what's cool is you can use the other stuff other people generated, potentially, if it's okay, as images and things like that way. There's still utility. You can post them on Facebook, all kinds of other stuff that you can do with them. There's use of these other images that you get, so it's not like you're throwing stuff away. It's just that you're using that really as a catalyst to find the good designer that you can work with on an ongoing basis. Now, once you do get a good one, now, by the way, real quickly, segue, not all products will lend themselves to a 3D rendering. There are certain products that it doesn't make sense to do this in. I wish I could tell you one off the top of my head. I can't, but I see them occasionally. Bottles are fantastic to do 3D renderings of, super duper simple. Containers, boxes, things of that nature, right? Certain products you're going to need a photo for. So if you do that, go to Odesk again, and this time hire somebody to touch that photo up to make it look really nice. You know, it's the whole cover image again, right? The actress really looks horrible in person, like a hideous car wreck, but on the cover of the magazine, she looks like the greatest thing in the world, and it's all done synthetically. I don't give them anything other than the dimensions. You could build them raw, yeah. And my label, yes. Because they will slap the label on that digitally. Yes, the best way I can describe it is, you know, I'm sure you've been on a sales page where somebody has those box images, like those e-covers and things like that, right? They don't, you know, those are all 100% rendered. They're just a rendered box. And you don't even get a damn box when you buy the thing. It's just a graphical representation of a digital product, right? Well, just like they can build those e-cover graphics and boxes in CDs and stuff, they can build anything. You can build anything in Photoshop from scratch. They usually actually use what they call Adobe Illustrator. I don't, because I can't draw. I can manipulate images and shapes, and that's what I do in Photoshop. But the good guys will actually use Adobe Illustrator. They'll get a tablet, draw it by hand, and then that turns it into what's called a vector graphic, if I can get a little nerdy, which allows you to manipulate all the points to make it perfect. And then they bring it into Photoshop and do fancy magic with it. Kit. Mm-hmm. Technically, just do it anyway. Yeah, and don't say I told you to do that, okay? Yeah, so the question Kid asked was, the image looks smaller than the background, which Amazon doesn't want. In Amazon's ideal world, they just want image, right? Because the product should sell on its own merit. And that's cool until you realize your competition isn't playing by the rules, right? So you could be the white knight and win points in the afterlife, maybe, right? But you're going to do so at the expense of dollars today. And so we play how they play. well, I mean, there's certain rules we bend, and there's certain things that we obviously don't break. Like, I'm not going to create fake reviews. That's stupid. That kind of stuff, right? But hey, I might push the image limit a little bit because Amazon's very lax on that. They're not lax at all in the reviews, by the way. They're very lax on the images. And so I start and I try this and this and see if they slap my hand out of the cookie jar, which I haven't found yet. So yeah, you're fine. And Kit, that's exactly what you can do with these images, which I love is, like I said, I can do anything with an image once I have it. I can put it on, I could make it look like a celebrity is using it, although I wouldn't, of course. But again, coming from a digital background and image manipulation, any image you see online that is professionally done, I don't believe it ever really existed. It's been doctored. And you don't even realize it. And I mean, you don't have to look as far as your magazines. All the magazines do it. And this is how we punch it up. So with that said, what makes your image stand out? How can we create images that sell, right? Here's the first thing I do. I do a search in Amazon, and I look at all my listings, and I scan very quickly, and I say, what catches my eye? It's not the best test, okay, because some of us have visual bias that maybe our customers don't have, right? But it's a good test. So I scan down, and whatever pops my eye out, I grab it, and I say, what about this image caught my eye? It's not that I'm going to directly copy the same thing that they do, although I might, but I try to realize the lesson behind it. This one caught my eye, and it's so funny because I did this consult with this guy, and then I turned around and did one with a lady right afterwards. And it was funny because it was back-to-back differences. The first one, everybody in his marketplace had like a full-on image with no white space, right? Except for one. And I'm like, that stands out because it's different, right? Everybody else is using a full-on product image shot or a background shot, and he has white space and a very kind of smaller image, right? The other one, everybody was using white space, and I recommended to have a full screen image, right? The lesson there isn't that white space is better than no white space, or vice versa, right? The lesson there is when they zig, you zag. You stand out because you're unique. If everybody's doing it this way, then figure out a different way to do it. So white space can be your friend when nobody uses it. When everybody uses it, white space sucks. And that's cool. I'll tell you some pointers. But that's what you do. You try to evaluate when you scan through. One of the things that will almost always catch your eye is what I call dimension. So all these images are 2D, right? They're flat. They're not in actual space. They're just represented on a web page. But some images seem to have dimensions and others seem to be flat. Why is that? The number one reason is shadow, which is so cool because you try to take a damn shadow image of that thing, it's going to look like crap. But if I run into Photoshop and just click the drop shadow default, damn, that thing don't look pretty cool, right? It gives it dimension. It gives it spatial relation, right? And so you will find almost unequivocally the images that always stand out have dimension. And then the main way they get dimension, it's not the only way, by the way, but it's the easiest way to get dimension is to put a drop shadow or a shadow on the image as well. Another good thing to do is color contrast. So images that stand out by color contrast, meaning that all my background color of an image might be kind of like a gray, drabby type of dull colors. And then my product image might be like a wild, exotic color, right? So by having a background that has a contrast in color with my foreground, right, that's going to help stand out. Now, I won't do that if everybody has a wild tropical image of their product, right? I will make my product look blasé in a sense. It will be neutral in color because it will stand out because it's unique. Do you understand that principle? It's called the contrarian approach, which I do in everything in my life. It's always served me very well. If the masses are doing it, it must be wrong. And it's true. Okay, and so that's how we can do images. Beyond all that, there's little tricks that make images stand out that I've noticed as well. The main one is you want an action shot of your image. So it's one thing if his image is sitting on the counter. That's not an action shot. That's a representation of the product. But how would we use Jim's product? We'd open that cap up, right? I'm assuming we dab some on the dog somewhere. Okay. So one action shot would be, and imagine how you can make this thing look so beautiful in Photoshop. So pouring it out and capturing that perfect freeze frame of where the drop hits the teaspoon, right, or whatever, and there's like a splash coming off of it, you know? Now, that's never going to happen in real life, right? But I guarantee if you're scanning down the line, first of all, I guarantee nobody's done that. And second of all, that's going to grab people's eyes. They're going to be like, oh, what's this thing? You know? And maybe that'll work, maybe it won't. What I like to do is get a couple different images and then make the final judgment call. This is the image that I want to use. You know, so you want an action shot. Like if I'm going to use, like, what's another product? Give me an example and I'll give you the action shot of it. Baking sheet, yes. I mean, it's one thing to be like, here's a baking sheet. Wow, cool, you know. It's another, like, if some nice-looking old lady's, like, bending over and opening it out, there's like, cookies on there, right? And she's pulling it out, and she's smiling like this, you know. That's an action shot. What the hell does that thing even do? Demonstrate it again. This one is easy. Come on, man. We just like that, right? So that's all it does? Okay. Wow. Very, very phallic, I might add, by the way, for my children, huh? No, and admittedly, I mean, honestly, let's be honest here. This thing is some freaking pipe with a wood and a cork on the end of it, you know? It's not the most attractive thing in the world, so I don't want to highlight it too much, but the action shot of this is capturing this in midair while this thing is popping out, you know? So it's like, and it's like the perfect shot and everything, right? And in this particular case, because of the way that this thing looks, I would detract from the way that this thing looks as much as possible. Because let's face it, it's not the most attractive thing. I mean, there's like glue all over the handle here, you know? Exactly, right. See, I like the close-up shot myself, but that's usually just my own personal bias. But yeah, two kids doing it, like one kid stabbing the other with it, you know, something like that. But putting the photo in action, you know, like when and Apple is so good at this with their tech products. Like you look at the competition when they advertise tablets and iPhones and stuff like that. I mean, the equivalent, or like the iPods. And then Apple comes in and it's just a white background, which, by the way, nobody does besides those guys, right? And then somebody's using it and they're just doing different stuff with it. That's a beautiful action shot. Where everybody else is usually doing like a celebrity standing there, you know, or something, you know, that doesn't have anything to do with the product even, and they're trying to sell you through that kind of a method. So action shots are very, very powerful. Not always the easiest. If you have to photograph the image, photograph it with an action shot, and you'll have to tell the photographer that, the photographer. They won't come up with this stuff. You know, you're the director, and they're your character in the story, and you got to make them do what you want them to do. You got to say, I want this shot, I want that shot, I want this shot, I want that shot, and you'll probably throw away 99% of the shots and just keep the good ones. But an action shot helps to sell the product because people see it in action. Typically, and this is a general thing, it's been proven wrong plenty of times, but in general, if my predominant demographic is female, I want to show what gender in my image? Female. If my product is male, I want to show a male in my product. That's general. It doesn't always work that way, but that's usually what I start with. And then dimension, of course, helps, but standing out is the most important thing because you're in a marketplace, and when people are scanning down, like anybody here drink Naked is what they're called, these juice drinks, and they supposedly cram in a million things in them, and they sell like $7. You got one right there, right? Look at that bottle. It's square. How many juice bottles do you buy that are square, right? Now, Naked does not sit with anybody else. They don't put them side by side other juices. How do they sell them? Usually. They have their own freaking stand by itself, right? Everything about that is designed specifically to stand out. Everybody else has a round bottle. We have a square bottle. Everybody else is grouped in together. We have our own thing on the end of like the thing all by itself, right? And of course, we charge $6 damn for one stupid little thing of this thing, and I frankly don't even think it's nutritious, even though that's how they sell it to you, right? But that's how they stand out in a sense. We do the same thing graphically. We're different than everybody else. We're square when everybody else is circular. Our images are this when everybody else is that, but not just to be different, right? We stand out to get attention, but also once the attention is gotten, it helps us sell the click. It helps us get them to want to click on our listing and consider buying our product. Me too.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, so yeah, in terms of what you can do with your images on Amazon, are you thinking of like using these action shots for the supplemental pictures? I mean, because because the first picture really just has to be a picture of your product, right? So
they say, you know, I don't know. And it's different from category. I'm not trying to be funny here. It is funny, right? But it depends on the category. It depends on a lot of factors. But I've seen images that totally violate the terms of service as the #1 image that's showing on there. I mean, crazy graphics and all kinds of colors, and the product isn't even in them, you know? My general rule of thumb is I'm going to do what I think is going to sell me the most amount of product, and those don't work. So what I usually like to do is my main image is going to be a straight-up product shot, and I want my product to look so damn good compared to everybody else's. And we usually accomplish that with shadows, with certain color balancing, and usually I'm a minimalist. That's my favorite way to design. Typically what you do, and you see this in our marketplace all the time, these big graphical sales letters that have like 50 images and different colors and headlines, and they basically scream at you, you know? And I create these sales letters that are very minimalist. The design is elegant, but it's elegant because of how space is used, how there's so few elements, because I don't have a lot to work with. The sign of any amateur is that they cram too much in. What they lack in elegance, they make up for with additional graphical elements, right? And that's how most people do it on Amazon. So my favorite thing to do is make the product stand alone, like all by itself, and just a nice, elegant, very minimalist shot, because nobody does that, right? And people say, ooh, what's this? It looks very attractive. I want to take a quicker look, which is, by the way, exactly what Apple does. Everybody else has black chargers. Apple has a white charger, right? As stupid as that is, white is cleaner than black, you know? And it's a good marketing thing, too, because everybody who sees that knows you have an Apple product, right? And so my favorite thing is a lone image of the product itself that looks like it's so beautiful when you take a look at it. Like, oh, my God, this is the reason nothing else is in the product, because the product shot is so beautiful that nothing else deserves to be in this. It's hard to accomplish, right? So you settle on something that's good enough, right? But that's what you strive for. And then when you click on that, you see the other images, of course, and then you see it in action. And then here's what happens after that. Then they'll read the 5 bullet points on the top, maybe, or they'll read the reviews, usually. And then maybe they'll read the product description.
Don't be afraid to experiment with those images, because you know, Jason's pointed out so many to me. I've pointed a few to them. It's like, hey, what if we did this, we did that? He says, well, this picture clearly violates the terms, but yet they're the number 2, 3, 4, 5 spots on the pages. They're on the spots where we want to be on, and they're clearly violating the image policy, but they're doing it, and it appears to be okay. So don't be worried about experimenting. At the start, I was very staunch that we don't violate anything, because it's the whole thing of let's start and then slowly see what we can get away with, right? And then I just get fed up because everybody was beating us because they were doing things that we weren't, that I was choosing specifically not to do, that I knew would be helpful if I could do them. So then I changed my view.
Okay, so then for your main product image, which is going to be just the product as you described, and if you're doing this 3D rendering, now if you hire someone, obviously if you're doing it yourself, you just do it, but if you're hiring someone on Odesk, do you tell them to put a drop shadow into it, or to, you know, do you tell them what background?
Not really. I want a good designer who knows how to do it. So I just say, here's the deal. You explain to a designer the outcome, or what we call the use case in program sense. I'll say to them, create an image for me. Here's where it's going to be. It's going to be listed in the Amazon marketplace amongst 500 other people, you know. And the goal of this image is to help me sell this product. And so one of the best ways to do that is to make this thing stand out and position our brand as powerfully as possible. So please do that for me. So you tell them what you want, and then if they suck, they will never be able to do it anyway, right? No matter how much detail you give them. If they're good, they will be able to do that for you in ways that you would never know how to ask. They'll know, a smart graphic designer will know, well, we want to get this thing dimension. They'll know this is the spatial relationship between the foreground and the background and all the other graphical stuff, you know?
There's another graphics design source called 99 Designs.
Yeah.
There was a member of ASM. He's not a member of our group, but there's a member of ASM who created the video. And if you haven't seen it, go and search for it in in the forum area, and he showed how he uses 99 Designs. And you can just go in 99 Designs and look at past projects and so forth, and you can see some really good stuff that Jason's talking about and how they come up with the product shots. And now these things are all done graphically, but you can't tell that they're not a picture.
Yeah, they're all 3D
It looks
renderings.
like a perfect picture. And so you can use that for some inspiration specifically. If you're not, if you're not a graphic designer, it's really hard to come up with the inspiration to get some of the stuff done and to even like fathom what it could look like. So go to a site like 99 Designs, look at, I forget what the category name is, but there's a category that clearly indicates product packaging.
Yeah, just ask in our Facebook.
I think it's product packaging. There's an area there, and you can see the designs that have been done.
Yeah, just
So
ask
there's
in our
some really
Facebook
good stuff.
group.
That's going to be a little bit more expensive than your Odesk, but you're going to get people that are very experienced in creating packaging for products.
At the end of the day, we could spend forever on getting the perfect image. I didn't. I just threw something together and stuck it out there because more important is to get the momentum going because we got a million other things we got to do in our. We got a million other things to do in our business besides just get the perfect image, right? And so you got to call it quits at some point in time. I love to, and again, the deadline, right? I will get my first image for this product by this date no matter what, even if it's a horrible image. So that way I have something. And then we can move it better. But I mean, the other things we got to do press releases still. We got to do all kinds of other stuff. So we can't just focus just on the image, although we could probably make it better. You can always go back. So set a deadline. I will have a good image done by this point in time so I can move on to the next step and continue to go. And then we can go back later and maybe optimize and add more images. And so I'm going to talk about the next steps once we take a break, which is going to be after EJ's question.
Just a sort of technical question. Is
Yes.
it okay to actually use stock images that I bought and put those up as part of my images?
It's a very loaded question, and I'll tell you why. It depends where you bought the stock image from. And I don't know. I don't understand any of their terms of services either. It appears in most sites that you can use that under their license, the stock image, and Amazon's okay with it as well, using stock images in a sense from what I can understand, but don't quote me on that. We definitely use stock images. You just have to be very careful where you buy them from. And by the way, I don't recommend you buy them from iStock Photo. Because I've seen time after time again where iStock has sold images they didn't have the rights to. And you can run into a whole can of worms. I recommend a site called photodune.net. Not only is it much less expensive, photodune, D-U-N-E.net. Not only is it much less expensive, but the rights or the license is a little bit more clearer, although it's still open for much interpretation.
Yeah, well, if you look at the stock photo sites, they have different types of licenses that you can buy. So there's one for web media, there's one for print media, and there's one for television,
visual,
and there's all kinds of licenses. So you can't just buy an image and have the rights to it. So it's very difficult to answer that question because you have to specifically know what you're buying that image for. To make it even more complicated, one of the images may give you rights to use it everywhere, whereas another image on the same site, you may only have the rights to use it in web and not print.
Or
so
for one project, but if you want to use it again, you're
yeah.
supposed to buy the image again, right? Who knows?
Yeah, it's very difficult. And you want to be very careful with that kind of stuff because there are companies out there who's like Getty Images, for example. They make a lot of money just finding people using their images and charging them a lot in penalties. It's not with images. It could be more than just a slap.
And by the way, don't ever let Getty Images bully you. They're full of crap. Get a lawyer, seriously. They try to bully you into paying them money.
I was just going to add to what you said about iStock. For our business over the last several years, we've a different business than this. I have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on iStock for images, and they're just really expensive.
They are.
And I have just recently found another one called 123rf.com, and it's really great. That's all I use now, and it's so much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So I just throw that as another alternative.
Yeah, I usually get my images for $2, but I get the bigger images. I can get $1 images that are very high quality. Whereas you go to iStock, they're ridiculous for their price. Same thing.
What if you went to Google Images, took an image from there,
Never.
but bastardized it a little bit?
Don't. Don't, okay? Don't do that unless you're good enough to hide it.
That's like stealing source code, modifying a few lines,
Yeah, we've
and then
never done
recreating
that.
a program. You can't do that stuff.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, and there's no reason to when you can buy an image right off the shelf for $1 or $2. Or if somebody has a really good image and you're dying to have it, write them and ask them.
I was wondering if anyone was familiar with that cozy.com. They have a section that's got free images, and then of course
I don't like
purchase.
free images because I will spend more time researching the damn thing on the uses than I will if I just spent $2. You know, my opportunity cost is too high for free images. Although if you're starting and you're really tight on the dollar, my favorite site is pixabay.com for free royalty images. It used to be everything was free, and you didn't have to worry about it. But of course, like anybody else, they had to ruin a good thing, and now you got to read the licenses again.
You mean they had to make money?
Well, yeah. I mean, the nerve of them. Well, I mean, they could have. I would pay them money, but they made it complicated, you know. So I think that's it. We're going to take about what, a 20-minute break.
Yeah, let's do about 20 minutes. What time is it right now? It's 10:49, so back here at 11:10.